Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 233 of Roqe. Centuries before Ayatollahs tried to redefine the nation, Iran was a preeminent scientific civilization. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam Dustan Aziz. Durud ba shama. Centuries before Ayatollahs tried to redefine the nation, Iran was a preeminent scientific civilization. Bear with me if this is too obvious, but maybe it's worth reminding ourselves sometimes that change in Iran is not only about a new, free, and democratic place that the future will provide, but about returning to what Iran once represented to the world and the sources of our historic pride. You see, as many Iranians might tell you, long before mullahs and the coming of Islam, Iran was a notable place. And it turns out it was a rather progressive, creative, and inventive space. Not that there's anything wrong with religion. In principle, this isn't an anti-theist screed, only just a tiny reminder that we're not all born from a Khomeiniist breed. Centuries before Ayatollahs tried to redefine the nation, Iran was a preeminent scientific civilization. Next time someone sympathetic says we need to drag Iran into the present day, thank them but inform them that there was once a different dynamic at play. In fact, many of the world's most significant contributions that define our reality in this moment came from Iran, long before Friday prayers, Basij bullies, and the morality police. How about a quick recap of, say, 10 discoveries of Iranian history? Why not start with the yakhchal? That's right, next time you open your fridge to pull out some well-preserved kebab, remember that it was first invented by Persians in the 400 BC. And don't forget both algebra and the alphabet, minor little discoveries that have helped organize life on this planet. For a while, it was Iranians that ran it. How about the guitar? We might all revere Pink Floyd, but David Gilmour would have no axe to play if Iranians hadn't invented the lute back in the day. And of course, there is sulfuric acid, forming the basis for chemical engineering in the modern field of chemistry, and water supply systems that would lead to the irrigation of crops and drinking water. Seems kind of essential. High five to the pre-Islam Iranians, for whom we ought to be reverential. For those inclined to challenges of the mind, add chess and backgammon to the list. And for those who grew up watching cartoons of every variation, thank the Bronze Age in Persia for the invention of animation. And if that isn't enough, how about the postal service and the first forms of a system of taxation? You see, when it came to sage new discoveries in ancient Iran, there was no time for relaxation. And that's 10 already, just to get us off to a start. But how about one more, to make it 11, and this one's from the heart. It seems that the country that is now in a battle against a murderous theocratic regime engaging in desperate freedom fights is the same place that many centuries ago spawned the very concept of human rights. You see, where I'm going with this is that the current revolution is not just a futuristic yen, but, with apologies, a little bit make Iran great again. Let's call it MIGA. Because the case for our ancestors is not something to forget. We may be able to rehabilitate our own history just yet. Without ignoring the negatives or engaging in misplaced revision, let's recognize that Iran really had a key role in progress with precision. Centuries before Ayatollahs tried to redefine the nation, Iran was a preeminent scientific civilization. Here's to a country rising again and being free. Here's to Zan Zendegi Azadi. Coming up, a big new edition of Roqe featuring guitar maestro, composer, and musician Babak Amini, soprano opera singer Golrokh Aminian, and our Roqe Roundtable. This is Roqe, episode 233, Centuries Before Ayatollahs, Iran was a preeminent scientific civilization. It's January 26, 2023. This is Roqe. All right. Here we go, big Thursday show.
Yes.
It's so fun. It's funny for me doing that opening essay because I'm the guy who sometimes, I don't want to say I hate, but I sometimes take issue with people who are saying, keep recalling 2,500 years ago as a reason to be happy about being Iranian today. It's like, come on, it's a little bit of a stretch going that far back, but You got my point. My point is that I feel like there's two things happening right now. There's looking to a new, hopefully, democratic Iran that's freer than anything we've seen in the past, but also resuscitating, recalling, rehabilitating a glory from the past that, for many reasons, is legitimate, that Iranians should feel proud of these discoveries and things like that. We're not just as jangal nayomadim.
Miga.
Not that there's anything wrong with jangals. I know, miga.
That part.
Make Iran great again.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, I enjoyed it. Sometimes we need those kind of cheering up, you know. Yes, we are Iranian. Let's proud of.
Yeah, we come from
Iranian.
somewhere. Yeah. And why do we have to? And if we're gonna go, I mean, some people cite Reza Shah or the Safavid dynasty or whatever. I mean, what's the statute of limitations on how far back you can go? Why not go back to our ancestors and go, the fucking postal service, man, that was us.
Yeah.
But more so, it's just the global image. The public image of so much of Iran in the last few decades has been, I even hate to say, is Ayatollah Khomeini's face, basically.
Yes.
That's the image.
Yes.
And women in, not even chadors, like burqas or something.
Misrepresentation in all its forms,
Well, yeah.
In most of its forms,
no,
fine.
I mean, there has been an Islamic Republic led by the Ayatollahs. Very, very excited about today's show because both of our guests are in the Roqe studio coming up. The first one, of course, the fabulous, incredibly talented Babak Amini, who is the guitar virtuoso and our friend. He's been on the show a couple of times, but who really has been spending recent months quite politically active. Now, I presume he's going to say, these are things that he's always talked about. He famously left Iran in exile in the year 2000, and he's certainly has been shy about his politics. But yeah, if you look at his social platforms these days, and it's all revolution all the time. And he was in Washington D.C. speaking at a rally on the weekend, and he has very publicly declared himself in support of Reza Pahlavi.
Correct.
So, which I'm going to ask him about that. Why, or how, or why he feels so comfortable doing so. Not that he necessarily shouldn't. It just there's many people who are, holding their cards closer to their chest, and he's a prominent figure who's declared himself like this, and what he thinks of the whole last week of the endorsements and non-endorsements and the chatter in the Iranian community around leadership. Always an elegant guy, always a very calm presence who has a strong will, strong opinions. So it'll be good to have Babak Amini in the studio again here to talk about all of that. He was telling me, I can't remember, a couple of months ago, I got to bring this up, that he couldn't play guitar. Wow. He was feeling paralyzed to play guitar because he was so upset about what's going on in Iran. And then Golrokh Aminian, the opera singer, she has also been very outspoken. She recorded a couple of songs. She's done stuff with Shaheen Najafi and Arash Sobhani and Mehrhan Aminian, and she had this opera project that this big performance that she had worked on for a long time that I went to. It was in mid-September. It was where she was taking great opera, famous opera arias, translating them into Persian and weaving them into this big production. 12 big opera pieces in Persian, and it was a giant production and an orchestra, and the performance was right in the week when Mahsa Amini was killed.
I think it was exactly a week after
something like that, because I remember going to it and kind of thinking, are we still going to this thing? Is it on? And then she came out and devoted and did a tribute to say this whole performance is basically for the women of Iran and Mahsa Amini, and Golrokh is very strong with her opinions and thoughts, and another person who couldn't make it as with a singing career in Iran because of the way women are treated and not allowed to be the prime vocalists, I guess. So she had to leave Iran, and so she'll be here in the Roqe studio as well. I'm looking forward to both of them. Hello, Pega.
Hello.
And hello, Shaya.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
You're great?
Trying to be.
Okay.
I feel like today's all about optimism, so...
It is.
It is.
And
that essay especially.
Well,
after that essay, I feel like...
Well, who can quarrel with inventing the yakhshal? I mean,
exactly.
You know.
I mean, Miga, that's it. I'm sticking to that.
Let's just slide right into our Roqe roundtable here without any fanfare. And tell me what's been on your mind the last few days.
Scrolling through, still doom scrolling, I have to say. I mean, I feel like that's just been the last 4 months we're at now. But definitely a couple of things that were really interesting in the past couple of days. Reza Pahlavi had another interview that has been making lots of waves on Persian Twitter.
The Sky News one?
Sky
News. It was in English.
Yep, it was in English, which I really appreciated. Sky News is a British news channel or news program, I guess. And so
it's a channel. Yeah,
is it a channel? Yeah. Okay. So he had an interview with them and really discussed his stance, I guess you could say. And he was asked kind of point blank whether or not he would be making a run for any sort of office or anything like that. And so I think he really put that answer to rest. To
be fair to him, he has said that a number of times. Yeah. Nobody's believes
listened, I feel like. I mean, the question keeps coming up on Persian Twitter and Instagram, and we've seen this debate for the last week.
Probably because some of his more enthusiastic followers want him to be the leader.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he's kind of saying, no, let me oversee a transition.
That's right.
Or something.
I mean, I don't know if it was because the interview was in English, and so this really, resonated with me, or because of the stance that he took and how clearly he spoke. But, he suggested that he would much prefer to be in an advisory role, which I thought that's a great way of putting it. And, so different than what we've been seeing in social media from a lot of his followers. So that was definitely something that...
Some of his followers. I mean, I think to be fair, there's a lot of people who were endorsing him over the last week, saying, look, we just feel like he's an adult who can help the transition. I'm not necessarily voting him as the king, but yeah. He doesn't. Reza Pahlavi doesn't have to do a lot of interviews these days, because anyone that he does just gets blasted across social media.
It becomes viral. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, people are curious. I think this week especially because of all the stuff that happened around the petition and endorsements of him and not him, and it has made. The guy's been, had the same position for 44 years, but all of a sudden he's a hot commodity.
Exactly.
All the news stations want to talk to him.
There was one more thing as part of the interview that I wanted to bring up. I can't remember what the reporter's name is, but he asks, what would you suggest, or what can we say the West should be doing more of? And his answer was something that I really enjoyed, and the way that he formulated that answer. He was mentioning that he's talked about concerns about access to communication for those in Iran, formation of a strikes fund to be able to finance and compensate some of the workers who have been or will be going on strike for prolonged periods of time, and also reaching out and using some of the assets that have been frozen and redirecting them, so to speak, to the people of Iran. And I thought some of the things that he pointed out were so well timed.
Yes.
And also he was mentioning that, I think he said something along the lines of, it's time for the West to catch up. And I thought it goes back to what we were saying on Monday about how the West, quote unquote, has always been kind of one step behind from what Iranians have been saying. And so to hear him reiterate that,
progressive, I suppose, people who identify as progressive, at least, advocating, who seemingly saying that they are advocating for Iran by saying no to sanctions. And I don't know very many Iranians who have that position anymore, if they ever did. So that's how playing catch up. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that do you think it's unfair that we're putting so much emphasis on recounting Reza Pahlavi interviews, and we're not doing the same for some of the other folks? I mean, I'm assuming, actually, I don't know how much they're the rest are getting interviewed. But I think Masih Ali-Najad does a lot of stuff. I mean, we don't sit here and talk about each interview of hers in the same way.
I think part of the reason is because we didn't see the same reaction or the same level of reaction to those interviews.
They've been generally more she's been very accessible. She's got her own show.
That's
so
right.
people are more familiar with hearing her voice maybe than they.
And I mean, to be fair, there is some political background to being the son of the Shah, right?
You say he was the son of the Shah?
What's that?
Yeah, what are you saying?
I'm talking about Reza Pahlavi.
He was the son of the Shah?
Here I am actually trying to answer you.
Wow, you mean the son of Farah Diba? Wow.
Thank you for explaining that.
Well, no, what I meant to say is,
you.
there's a big difference, I think.
You're saying he's the son of the Shah.
That is what I'm saying.
Other people are not the son of the Shah. But that said, too, I think we're in a weird news cycle where things are progressing, but things are not, there's not massive demonstrations and, God forbid, executions to be reporting on right now from Iran. I've noticed the tendency, for example, like Hamid Ismailian will tweet something and then for the next few hours, it'll be headlines. There'll be like an Iran international story with Hamid Ismailian's face, and I'll think they've done an interview with him, and they're just basically, they're reporting that he's tweeted something. It's reminiscent of peak Trump, where when Donald Trump would tweet something and that was news for 24 hours. It's kind of like, well, we already are following him on Twitter. We don't need to. You don't need to explain to us what Hamid Ismailian just tweeted, but it suggests that there's a hunger for information, but there's not a lot to be talking about right now. Right. So that's probably why Reza Pahlavi's interviews are also getting a lot of attention, because that's where our mindset's at, other than folks who are doing new content and putting out new songs or something like that, right?
Yeah. Actually, related to your question,
which question was that?
If he's the son of the Shah?
He's the son of the Shah.
Are we going to is it fair that we there is a 3 mass shooting in United States, in California.
Yes.
And it came to my mind that is it fair if we discuss about that at some point, generally in social media, not in Roqe, generally, because one of my friends reached out to me and shows her comments that actually she posted something about
mass shootings in America.
And which is, I think you have to mention this. And
why? Not to take anything away from the tragedy of it, but
because they're human, and there are some human that being shot.
Yeah, but a bunch of people just died in Ukraine who were bombed by today.
Yeah,
we don't talk about that either. We don't talk about mudslides in Bangladesh.
That's a question. We have to take care of those news, or we only have to be focused? We being Iranian. I assume if let's say 6 months ago this happened in the United States, we think a lot about it.
Yes, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
That other than Premier League football, there's a lot of things that I feel like I used to care about. That it's kind of like Babak Amini saying, I don't feel like playing my guitar. I'm too yesterday, I think it was the Oscar nominations. I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't give a shit about award shows anymore. But I know, and there's some Iranian content.
Just the Iranian connection.
I know. But my point is just that it's.
No, I agree.
It's who cares about Oscars right now with what's going on in Iran? It feels so. I think we're also invested in this as something that it has the potential to change lives forever, and already has to a certain extent. This Iranian uprising, that everything seems so. Now, a mass shooting is still something we should pay attention to. It's different from the Oscars, but I feel in general, we're quite focused, right? And it's hard to And I wouldn't blame, someone who is in the Pakistani community who's focusing on a tragedy that's happened in Pakistan for not following Reza Pahlavi's speech, or interview on Sky News, right? But
as an Iranian, yes, that's right. I mean, I care about that shooting, but I don't. It's hard to explain.
It's a different priority, I think.
And sometimes I think that explains, I think there's a very fair and credible argument to be made about the West has not paid the kind of attention it should to what's going on in Iran. But I do think there are times when we get exercised about, I can't believe the New York Times is not writing about it. And when, it's kind of understandable that the New York Times is not in the weeds about everything that's happening in Iran, because there's stuff happening all over the world. And there's, demonstrations going on in Peru and there's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah. Okay, so
sorry for the distraction.
But should Reza Pahlavi speak on any news channel anywhere, we'll spend 10 minutes talking about that said, because he's the son of the Shah.
Well, that and also the reaction to the interview. I think that's also something that is important.
If Hamid Ismailian tweets anything, make sure to make it a headline in every.
And see it all across your Instagram.
And where's Ali Karimi lately?
I haven't seen anything from him recently.
Since he endorsed Reza Pahlavi, I haven't seen a lot of him.
Or the rest of that coalition, quote unquote, I guess. There's not a lot that we've seen recently.
Maybe they're working on things behind the scenes.
There is one thing in Reza Pahlavi's interview that actually captured my attention. Was that the beginning?
By the way, he's the son of the Shah. I don't know if you know. Son of the late Shah.
So Prince Reza Pahlavi.
That's right. Well, Pega was just pointing it out, so we know. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Yeah. The person who interviews him, he mentioned at the beginning that we are having Reza Pahlavi, who has the main role in the protest against. So it was
in the opposition. I think he said. The leader. Did he say
the
leader
main
or
role.
the main role? Okay.
Yeah. Which was interesting.
That's disputed in the Iranian community, I would guess, probably. But
I don't know.
I'm sure we'll see comments about it. On the same topic of viral videos.
But can I just say, I continue to believe that he acquits himself very well. Reza Pahlavi. It's consistent. He's he never. There's been no gaffes. There's been no horrible. Maybe he's low energy sometimes or something with that. But he doesn't. When was the last time you saw like a viral video of this awkward moment with Reza Pahlavi? He's very, very consistently delivers on his messages, and I think that's people are taking a bit of confidence in that. Those who are endorsing him,
for sure.
What else? Sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going to say, on the same topic of viral videos, there was a video, I'm sure you both saw it. I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to call it the New Iran video. And it starts off, I think it's a collaboration between Reza Bird, and the voiceover is done by
the guy from Succession.
Yes, the guy from Succession. That's right. It's one of those videos that I really enjoyed. I've seen it everywhere, shared.
It's kind of a produced kind of video about Iran and history.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think they did a really, really good job. It's very short, and I think it highlights all of the current, main bullet points of what's going on. It summarizes all the concerns. It hits home, I guess, and for lack of a better term. The opening scene starts with...
I think it's better than me mentioning the Yakhjal and algebra.
No, that is filled with pride. This is different.
Okay.
But they, I guess, begin with points about inflation, the current economic status of the country. They touch upon the imprisonment of dissidents, highlighting the executions, these corruption on earth verdicts that we've been seeing. And I just thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah, it's good. My hope always is with a video like that it's somehow that will somehow reach beyond
the Iranian community,
the echo chamber of our own community.
Yeah. And one of the things is I was actually really happy that it was done in English for that exact reason, because I think a lot of, And I think we've had this conversation before where we say in the world of Persian Twitter and, you know, seeing friends' Instagram stories and things like that, is that really reaching a broader audience? So hopefully it being in English will.
Okay.
Last thing I wanted to discuss is that currently the Fajr Film Festival is going on. And I've been seeing a very, very different look of the festival this year, which has been interesting and actually made me really happy to see.
This is traditionally, if I remember correctly, kind of the biggest movie or arts kind of festival that happens in Tehran.
That's right.
Each year, right?
Yes.
It's not just films; it's other things.
Yeah, it's other things, but the film is the
main thing.
The main, yeah. So what I saw photos of it, and it was really interesting to see because typically when you see photos of this festival, the halls are packed. It's, you know, star-studded, that sort of thing, and to see the halls empty and to see the front rows filled with clerics as opposed to artists was just such a contrast. And you can really see that the individuals from the arts community are almost boycotting it. There's a film that's
not
actually,
almost.
Well, I guess essentially
they're not turning up. Yeah,
that's right. There's a film that's been nominated at the festival that I think is like the front runner, I believe, and it's called Why Don't You Cry? Chera Geriye Nemikoni. I think that's the translation.
Yes.
And one of the lead actresses actually put out a statement, and she said, you know, one, she's obviously not attending. Two, she was kind of taken aback by the fact that this film that she was in very briefly is now the forefront of this festival, and that she has no power over it being that, but that she doesn't endorse it. So she made a very public stance on this. And so it's been really interesting to see that. And so many other members of the Iranian arts community have also voiced their kind of, I don't know what the word for it would be, but discontent, I guess, for the festival this year. But definitely some of the photos have been eye-opening.
Before we end our little roundtable, get to Babak Amini. He's waiting to come in. Let's have him come in. You didn't mention the EU. Any of the fallout from the EU, and which you don't need to mention because it's kind of, we discussed it already on Monday, and there's not that much more to say. That, but the reviling and ridiculing of EU President Joseph Borrell, or whatever his name is. Joseph, yeah. That guy is, I mean, that's been quite interesting.
Yeah.
The Iranian community is on it.
Oh, yeah.
Know?
I saw a photo of him in the IRGC uniform. Someone had edited that on.
Yeah. It's just and for a good reason too, the anger towards him, because it really it was unfortunately kind of a tipping point to show how, you know, when push comes to shove, Europe, much like the United States, is not ready yet to take a firm position against this regime. They will say, oh, we don't like the executions and whatever, but I mean, Joseph, the EU guy, he's like actively saying, well, the JCPOA, we got to get back to the deal, and so I mean, there's no pretense even of yes, we're considering the terrorist list for the IRGC or whatever. It's been a bit of a gut punch this week, I'd say.
And even after all the backlash, he hasn't changed his stance or tried to come back and be more soft spoken about it or anything. I mean, he's just full force.
There's always a moment in these conversations where I want to state the obvious, which is that most people in the world and most of the actors in these, the people running powerful countries, etc., don't give a fuck about human rights and democracy and stuff. I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to. Yeah. It's, everybody pays the lip service to it, but there's billions of dollars at stake. There's deals to be made. There's oil on the table, whatever. And we kind of run around still hoping that will not be the case, or that we can pressure the world with. And I think that does make a difference, those big demonstrations, and, they lead to action being taken, but not tipping the EU president yet into our camp.
Yes. Can I say something before going to...
that was an extremely long breath that you took, so I thought you were going to say something, yes.
Yeah, because you mentioned Fajr, and we have two musicians for our guests. The musicians in Iran they have really a tough life these days, really a tough life. And because I mean there is not general strike these days, every people have a hard life these days, but musicians especially, they really cannot do anything other than like anything.
What were they able to do before that they can't do?
They can't have concerts.
There's no concerts.
No, because
they choose not to.
Yes, because if they want to have a concert, they have to go to Ershad and get a license, and they completely reject the culture minister. And so, like here in diaspora, also musicians, but they can go have a here.
I'm gonna ask Babak about that actually.
Yeah, but in Iran, it's a big silence in music, and I want to shout out for
musicians in Iran, good ones especially. That's the main form of income, right? The only form of income. There isn't royalties or album sales or whatever. It's all kind of playing gigs, and you get paid tickets.
Like I can see, like for example, Bomrani, the group Bomrani, they started to sell like lamps and abajur, instead of.
Wow.
So it's really heartbreaking, and I just wanted to say dametun gam.
But it's not just them, right? I mean, it's like
generally the
arts.
Community,
who's making films right now? Who can act?
Yeah.
Who can? I mean, that's why you just can't. They can't sustain this. This is not a country. You can't keep this going. The currency where it's at, the inflation, I mean, who's going to go to Team Melli games? Like, everywhere you turn, like
actually,
Fajr Film Festival. How does the regime think that that's going to get better next year if they stay in power? I mean.
Speaking of football, there was another video I saw that I don't know who the game was or who the teams playing were, but there's a viral video of individuals, the spectators, chanting Ali Karimi in a game that obviously he's not a part of. But that's another video that I saw recently that I thought, they're still going strong, and the support for him is obviously still there. So,
but some of our friends there who are musicians in Iran are undoubtedly having a tough time, right?
Yeah, and maybe it's not bad to, like, in one episode bring some musician from Tehran, Iran, and talk to them to see what's the situation, how we can help. Yeah.
What about the ones who tend to produce stuff, like, I should just call him, but like Reza Pahlavi? Would he still be able to do work?
No, what work? Because there's it's off. There's like even studios they don't have any. It's very hard.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Let's bring in. Peggy, just go grab Babak. Let's get to our first guest today. My first guest is a renowned Iranian-Canadian guitarist, composer, musician, and a member of the American Guitar Society, as well as being a major star in the Iranian community around the world. Take a listen to this.
خدا نور است، خدا محساس، خدا سلطان قلب نیکاست، خدا تو کوچه ها امروز شهامت در وجود ماست، خدا تو ماج، خدا صالح، خدا امروز دوتا باله که باید برکشید با اون وگرنه معصیت داره، خدا زلفای در باده، خدا ایران آباده، خداوند گوهر عشقیست که تا مرگ پای ستاره.
There you go. A little taste of one of the latest recordings featuring my first guest today, and that song dedicated to the current uprising in Iran. The song is called Khoda Noor, with Ardavan Khatami. That's a song that went viral in November. And the guitar and the arrangement you heard there is none other than the great Babak Amini. Babak was born and raised in Tehran, and by a young age he was known by many Iranians, both inside and outside of Iran, for the magic he can create with his fingers on a guitar, sometimes in the style of jazz and flamenco mixed with Persian influence. With over 150 albums, music videos, and film scores in Iran and in the diaspora to his credit, Babak has composed and arranged music for many musical icons such as Gugush, Farmaz Aslani, Ebi, many others. Recently, Babak has released solo works and did an album and tour with Shaheen Najafi. Babak has been very active since the uprising began in Iran in September and was in Washington, D.C. this past weekend where he participated in a high-profile demonstration. He's been very open and public about his endorsement of Reza Pahlavi. We will get to all of that, but first, right now, let me welcome Babak Amini back into the Roqe studio. Hello, sir.
Thank you so much for the beautiful intro, my friend.
Always a great pleasure to have you
man.
Here. Thank you.
And I appreciate what you do for Iranian diaspora, and just I want to add a little thing.
Sure.
In your intro, I've been doing those songs to support Iranian people the day one that I got out of the country 20 years ago.
Yes.
22 years ago, the first album that I did with Gugush called Zartosht, most of the songs were like kind of supporting what Iranian people wants. And after that, there are lots of songs that I made till now.
Yeah.
So it's not just been like a couple of months that I'm doing.
Well, it's funny because I was going to start with
even they were like asking me why you're doing that. Those times nobody wanted to do. As soon as they were out of the country, they were doing like more popular songs,
sure,
like dance music, club music, to entertain people, and they didn't have that much pain to speak about what is going on in Iran. So I think
they did have the pain. They were suppressing the pain. Maybe.
No. I'm talking about the composers. They didn't have that need and that pain to speak about all the Iranians' problems in Iran. But I thought that this is my responsibility. The day one that I got out of it, that's why they arrested me in 2003.
Yes.
As soon as I went to Iran to visit my family, they arrested me, and like it's a long story.
Well,
I don't want to go there.
You trumped me because I was actually going to start exactly there. But by the way, as a sidebar, a couple of days ago, Babak texts me and goes, "Is it okay if I speak Persian in the interview?" And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Your English is immaculate.
No.
Have you heard some of the people who come on this show and their English is, soldier through speaking? I mean, your English is excellent. Why would you want to speak Persian?
No. Because I'm perfectionist. So anything that I want to do it in the right way. But I've never been in any school here. I didn't go to university or I didn't participate to any school, sure, or that's why the way that I speak English is not very sophisticated.
That's not true. It is
it's like a kind of street language.
You speak like a guitarist.
If you speak about talk about music or art or sport, I might be able to communicate better.
The deal is you can go into Persian if you feel the need to at any point. But I really think you're being modest.
I try my best. I will try my best.
And also, there's a lot of people who interview you, and there's a lot of interviews of you in Persian out there.
Yes.
And this is an opportunity for people who don't speak Persian or who are non-Iranians to have a chance to hear from you directly as well. So anyway,
let's do it.
You started talking about where I wanted to start it because in terms of the roller coaster, and I want to get to the mixture of emotions that I know have been coursing through your veins in the last 4 or 5 months. Because the last time you were here, in fact, when we did quite a comprehensive life story interview. Of course, I want to do the real comprehensive one day where we do the Babak documentary. But we talked about your years in Iran, how difficult it was for you, basically being exiled, going back, getting arrested, and your less than favorable feelings about the regime in Iran and the experience that you've had. With that as the backdrop, I wanted to start with how you felt. I mean, I I've been on demonstrations with you. I know that something of the energy you felt. But take us to this past September and in the weeks afterwards, where you see something crystallizing that actually could be the revolution this time. With the backdrop of all you've been through with this regime, how does that feel?
You know, this is a strong feeling. Past 4 months that hit me like like a truck. You know, I couldn't play guitar. I couldn't be focused to create anything. You know, I made some songs, but exactly the time that I wanted to just arrange or like do collaboration, for instance, with Erdogan, I put time and like I forced myself, okay, let me be focused and do that. Otherwise, I thought this is the first time I felt that whatever that is happening in Iran is way more important to my passion regarding the music and art. So that was the first time that I was out, because my whole energy was toward Iran.
First time ever?
Ever. Because I used to do like those kind of like make those kind of music to support Iranians, but this time I was feeling that I'm paralyzed because my whole energy was there, not here in Canada, you know. And that's why you saw me. I was like participating in protests, and I even went to Washington to join my friends Siamak Aram and Faramarz Aslani and Marjan, and we were in the protest there. Beautiful experience. And but it was the first time that I felt there's a big thing more important than my music, and I didn't want to I didn't have that musical bug on me to just go on stage and perform and like be passionate about to play my guitar. That's why one of the reasons that somehow I said, I told Shaheen that I don't have that much passion to continue right
you
now.
were in the middle of doing dates with him and you stopped.
I was off completely.
But it's a strange thing, because one would think, especially someone who is so identified with and has had this love story for decades with your guitar, you know, I mean, that is your muse, that's your outlet, that it would actually be your guitar that you would turn to when there's turmoil or when there's something that you want to express yourself through.
Yeah, but I was too depressed, and like the when you see 24/7, when you watch all those horror movies, horror videos that they're killing the kids, killing all the protesters, and the way that they are treating our brothers and sisters in Iran, you know, on streets and in the jails, it's hard to swallow, man. I don't know, it was too hard for me. And maybe the impact was too strong that I couldn't just put myself together and just start like being focused and be on my zone. You know, when I want to create something and when I want to play something and just go on a stage, I should somehow be in my own zone, be in my own like cocoon or something. I don't see anything. I'm just in that feeling and zone, like so focused.
Yeah.
But past 4 months, I couldn't be focused because I was just watching and just following all the news, and like, you know, I wasn't myself.
There are still people, I actually think people that even you and I both know, who, and they may not say this publicly, but will still say, you know, we've seen this before. This isn't going to amount to anything. It's sad, but I'm not expecting there to come change from this. As someone who has dealt with this regime your whole life, and for the last, well, almost your whole life, and for the last 20 years in exile, or 23 years in exile, how do you Why has this time been different for you?
I think that people tried everything. And now they don't have any hope for future. And I think it's going to go a little bit more crazier. We're going to see more difficult days ahead of us. But when we are in this point, there is no going back. Because I think when the society, when people understand the change and they wanted the change, you cannot force them to go back, because that knowledge, that need is in the society, and they understand it. It's like when you see that the sun is there, it's day, and you want to force everybody, no, it's night. So they're not going to accept that. And there is no point to going back. And the whole world, because of the social media, learning every day, every moment, we are learning so fast. Even this past 4 months, even young teenagers, imagine, like, see the knowledge of the history of the Iran, the knowledge of the politics, how they learn so fast, how they get to know their own people, so fast. And I think even the social media united us more. And it was
In some ways it doesn't unite us.
Always people say different things, which is great. I think when you have a society that there is no different opinions on it, you don't get that much movement. It's not an active society.
Let me get to that. Let me just, I mean, when you bring up social media, your entire social media platforms, your feed has become quite political. I mean, it's all that I see there, Is that strange for you?
No. As a musician, an artist, our responsibility is speak about what is happening in people's heart. And without them, we are nobody. So I don't make songs for myself to just practice and listen myself in my room. I wrote song and I play guitar to entertain people, to play it on a stage. First of all, I like to learn something and challenge myself. But the main goal is for people, to communicate and connect with the people.
Okay.
So what is the point if I don't support people?
But with you in particular, I mean, you've got a massive following on, say, Instagram and these platforms, and I have to think that there's some people amongst those who, start following you because they're guitar fans, or maybe they're not even Iranian.
Yes.
When they reach out to you and say, hey, come on, man, like, I'm not following you to get political speeches. I want to, I just want to watch your chops on the guitar. What's your response?
Nobody told me.
No one said that.
No one.
Not
said
one.
Not one.
Wow.
Not one.
Everybody understands how important this is.
Everybody understands. And actually, since, so many of musicians, they're sending me message. They're saying that, thanks for being our voice, because in Iran we cannot post those like political songs or like posters or like everything that you do. It's coming from our heart.
Yes.
And there are so many of them. They are sending me like supporting messages.
Babak, in the first couple of months especially of the uprising, I think it's still the case to a certain extent, but it feels like it's been modified a bit now. There was this notion that concerts shouldn't happen. Musicians this is not a time to play shows. A number of people canceled their shows, and a number of people were shamed when they went ahead with their shows. What is your take on that?
I didn't want to participate on that sensitive subject, when people were asking me, because the reality is not black and white. Reality is always in gray area. You don't know. Sometimes is a little bit more white, sometimes is a little bit more black. For that aspect, I have to say certain musics maybe not, it's not a good match for these days. But still they can have their concerts, but maybe change a little bit repertoires to, like, first of all, to support the Iranian people and have their concerts. But some artists like Sasi, or
who was criticized,
but he doesn't have any songs that, like, he cannot change his repertoire. But if he plans to have concerts, so people that they want to see that concert, they want to have fun, that's their right.
I think
that's their right to go there. But we shouldn't say, okay, you're banned, or like you're doing something wrong. No, that's the nature of his songs. If you're against it, don't go there. But the wrong thing is people were going to his concerts
and booing
and throwing bottles, and that
it happened with Gugush too.
Yes, I don't like that. I don't like that. And if you don't want to support, okay, just throw away your tickets and don't go there. But why you're going there? They are your artists. They're Iranian artists. They're not from a different world.
The double standard that, in retrospect, bothers me is that artists tend to be held to a different standard than others. You know, we had a situation where people were saying you shouldn't be making films right now. You shouldn't be playing concerts right now. You shouldn't be. But they're not saying to a dentist, you shouldn't be doing your dental work.
No. Who we are to say, like, tell all the artists that you should do this, you should do that. No, we are out of the Iran because of those things. Because any songs that I wanted to release, I had to go to government and get permission about, like, lyrics. They used to change the lyrics. You have to do only this style. No, man, we are against that. That's why we are here. We want to live free. Okay, if there's an artist, they want to have their concerts, okay. And if there are some people, they're tired and they want to have fun a little bit, they want to go to their concerts, that's okay with me. But when the problem is, some people, they always, you find people that they are against everything. Anything you do, they find the thing that to say no.
Sure.
You know, we have yes mans and no mans. So there are people that they find something to, like, throw to your face against you always. That's good too, because you look at different angles. But if we start judging people, like, about, like, having concerts or not, like, you should not have concerts,
or about being, like, active or not in the I mean, you know, I am sympathetic. I mean, just to turn it around, there is the argument that says, look, if we're not all participating, then the change is less likely to happen, right?
Yes.
So if somebody's just going about their business and putting up their fun posts and, you know, having their fun dance concerts, there is a part of me that goes, well, wait a second, you know, we need everybody on board on the bus.
Yeah, but not everybody's same, you know. And you know, for instance, because this one I know, Abi's concert, you know, he still has some concerts, but he changed the repertoire like 100%. So like, he sings all the songs that is for the support for Iran, and I know that like 80% of the repertoire is like totally changed. He has his concerts here and there, but the songs are different. I think that Gugush did some similar thing, and but some singers, they don't have that many songs.
Right.
So,
I mean, I don't want to go too far in the rabbit hole on this, but I'm already starting to think about Nowruz, because it's not that long. It's a month and a half away. What are we supposed to do at Nowruz?
You know that we are preparing a big.
I do actually.
Program.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, I thought you weren't supposed to say anything about that.
No.
Okay.
It's out there, and the Tirgan already started to promote it.
There's a big, this is in March, I think it's March 25th.
Yeah.
There's going to be a massive concert.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about it? Or
Yes.
What can you tell us?
I'll be the musical director. I write for the orchestra. We're going to have like 10, 12 singers. Like Ebi is going to be there. Farmaz is going to be there. Shaheen Najafi. Lots of good singers. And it's for Iran. Baraye Iran. That's the name of the concert. Now we have very good speakers. And it's going to be beautiful night.
Scotiabank Arena.
It's going
to be massive.
Yeah. And I think tickets also will be on sale from tomorrow, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really didn't think we were going to be allowed to talk about this yet.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, today I supposed to make a video, like to put it in the Tirgan social media.
So if you're the musical director with all these famous, you're going to have to get along with all of them,
I love them, and they know how to get along with each other.
It's going to be an epic event. I've heard about this, and I'm excited to hear that it's coming.
And
together.
The song choices, like, they are very good songs, and I'm sure that people will love it, and hopefully there lots of TVs will cover that concert.
I would hope that all the different networks will come together for
hopefully,
it.
Hopefully. Good thing that all the singers that they're coming, artists that they're coming to this concert to participate, they didn't charge anything. So
wow.
Yeah. And they didn't
Ebi
charge.
Farmars,
Shaheen,
who else?
Arash Sobhani.
Okay.
And Irfan, Golazin. There are like
great
12 singers, yeah. And Rostam Mirlashari, Baluch singer, and Hani Bakhtiari is like a Kurdish singer. Some locals, yeah.
I hope people from who are not in Toronto will be listening to this will come join us.
And
here.
Other thing, the ticket prices are very, very low, to cover the expenses, so everybody can.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, Babak, let me get to something that's really important to ask you about. That's was part of the incentive for bringing you here today, even though it's always a pleasure to have you here. Likewise. You are a supporter of Reza Pahlavi, as are many folks. You're one of the high-profile members of our community that's been very public recently about your support. Tell us why.
Because I have some followers, everybody should know what is in my heart and who I am. I don't want to hide anything from my followers, from my friends. I have to be honest. And I didn't want to wait to see what's going on, and they like politically just be in the side to see how people react. No. I know Reza Pahlavi from before, and we have good relationship, and he's not seeking power and or any parties, and he's just there to help opposition to get together and united the opposition. And he doesn't want to be a king, and he had the fame. He has the.
He says he doesn't want to be. There are people who say he still wants to be, but
no. He like you don't. You know how many times I think in each and all of his interviews,
he keeps saying, I'm not seeking the crown.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be king, and he just wants to support the people and help people, and he's doing it. And what is wrong to support that cause?
What do you want him to do?
Whatever that he's doing is right. But I just want people not to attack him, because he's the only one that is working the right way. He wants everybody's help. He's asking like Masih Ali-Nejad, even Hamid Ismailion, everybody. He's asking everybody's help, and he's uniting everybody under, like, I don't know. I feel comfortable that whatever that he's doing, it's in the right direction. That's why I felt that I have to bring up to my social media and tell everybody that what is in my heart, what is in my mind. So,
just to get you to elaborate a little bit on why. I mean, here's the space, here's the platform. What is it about him, in your mind, for you, that makes him the person who, as you say, is the right guy, the right person right now to be overseeing the transition?
First of all, he had everything. He doesn't need to gain anything. He's already Prince of Iran, and so he's not seeking power. That's the main thing for me. And
you're attracted to that.
Yeah,
that he doesn't want to be the leader.
Very attracted to that.
But it sounds like you would like him to be the leader. No?
I want him to do whatever that he thinks that is right, which he's leading also. But through the time that we get to the victory and try to experience the democracy. So the other thing is that I'm very happy to support Reza Pahlavi. His mom and his family always supported the art and artists. In our politician histories, they are the only one.
Unquestionable, yes.
They are the only one. They paid attention and support art and artists. And if you just talk to Reza Pahlavi, first of all, he's an artist himself in different things. He plays drums, he knows music inside and out. He does the photography. He's like in everything. Like a couple of months ago, we were talking about like cooking. He has like extreme knowledge about cooking, and like anything you talk about it, like he has like deep knowledge about everything, and it's amazing. And for me as an artist, when I see a politician, when I see somebody that in that knowledge of art and the history of the family that they are supporting, like
his mom, for sure.
His mom, yeah. And what they've done for art and artists in Iran, it's unmatchable to other politicians or like other people that they weren't in power. And I cannot just compare it to anybody else.
When you've been this public, when you and I appreciate what you're saying. I don't want to wait. I don't want to, hold my cards to not piss some people off or whatever. I'm going to be who I am. When you've made this declaration, whether it's a picture of you and Reza Pahlavi on your Instagram, whatever it is, I know you have a lot of followers. You have a big audience in Iran, let alone in the diaspora. What's the reaction been?
They loved it.
Universally.
I didn't get any just one guy.
You're the luckiest guy in the world. No one attacks you.
No.
Everybody attacks everybody.
Actually, one of my friend attacked me. Not very close friend. He's like a photographer or videographer. He just told me that no, I have to talk to Reza Pahlavi. Why is like doing this? And said, okay, you have to have your own opinion, and I have mine. And he was not happy. So that was the only one.
Generally, it's been very positive.
Yeah,
your endorsement.
Yeah,
interesting. What did you think of this campaign that emerged to endorse him last week?
I find out that still so many people, they don't know what's going on and they're just attacking. Mm-hmm. Because the campaign like Ittihad, the campaign of Ittihad was to unite all the oppositions, like all the high profile people together, But they think that now Reza Pahlavi wants to be a king. Mm-hmm. They just even listen to what is going on, even one interview or like listening to see what's happening. It's not like, they just want to just attack. And we still have people that they don't know what's going on. And so maybe that Ittihad campaign was good because so many of people, they start saying something and everybody else that they wanted to support that Ittihad campaign, and everybody else was like, it's not the right thing, but they were attacking them. But it's good. It means that the society is active.
Well, the conversation is amazing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not a conversation.
Yeah, but
it's a bunch of people yelling at each other.
Yeah, we are still learning. We are living in a free country, but still we are coming from dictatorship. Mm-hmm. We have a saying in music, when they are going to hire some musicians from like big orchestras, some of them, they say we are third generation musicians. Mm. So I was thinking, why they are mentioning I'm third generation, I'm second generation? Because nobody were playing any music or instruments in my family. I'm just in the first generation. So what is wrong with me? And what is the advantage for them to be third or second generation? But it's different. We are first generation learning and experiencing democracy in different countries, not even in Iran. So everything is new for us. We are first generation, and everything that we are trying and experiencing it has a, sometimes we feel that, okay, we have that social media, now this is a tool to attack everybody.
Right.
And because this is very new, we want to experience to be free.
But from what I understand, Reza Pahlavi himself this caught him by surprise, this grassroots, this endorsement campaign, this petition, etc. And it was a little awkward for a few days because people were waiting to see what his reaction would be.
We should have more of these kind of Ittihad like campaigns, like different campaigns even, because much as we are active, we were gonna get somewhere.
But isn't it a distraction, Babak? If we're talking about leadership right now, rather than focusing on the enemy, which is the regime. I mean, I have to bring up the people who disagree with this endorsement, with this petition, etc., because they were very outspoken. And so, I mean, for example, Homasar Shar, who was, I don't know if you saw her, she went on a network in the last couple of days and said, I'm paraphrasing, but that she worries or has some sense that the Islamic Republic and the IRGC or the IRGC cyber army is somehow involved in this petition, in this campaign, and she was quite suspicious about it.
Sure, that's her opinion. But you see the majority. You know, it's very good to have those kind of opinions. Otherwise, we don't get the active society to choose something out of it. So if we have a society that everybody's agree about something, this is the worst society, because it's gonna stay like there. You don't learn anything out of it. You know, but when you have an active society, different opinions, different angles to look at it and educate yourself.
That's true, 100%.
Yeah,
but
you get some.
The question is, does the debate, because you're right, what the petition actually said, the debate turned into something else. The debate turned into, to a certain extent, in social media, a referendum on whether you like Reza Pahlavi or not, which wasn't even the intent of the petition, right?
I think I think it was right time for everybody to say their opinions, and that Ittihad, what do you say it, campaign helped people that to be able to say whatever,
voice where they're at. I see.
And it's nice.
Okay.
If we get to the point that we don't know our people, that we don't know who's supporting what, we're gonna get in trouble again and again.
Like, you think now we should be working this out?
Yes.
So that we don't fall into a situation where Khomeini can emerge.
Yeah, look at our revolution in like Khomeini, when the Khomeini start working with the other parties.
Yeah.
There were like 3 major different oppositions. But even with the major help that Khomeini got from the other opposition parties, they could win the situation. And right after that, they killed everybody, all the oppositions. So it's better to see and solve all the problems before we get there. And it's nice to hear everybody's opinions, because as I mentioned before, the reality is not just black and not just white.
Are you worried about our community?
Certainly
outside of Iran.
They have to hear our voice, and we have to hear their voice.
Are you worried about our ability to collectively work together? Because it is alarming to a certain extent. I don't want to overplay this, but the fact that all of these prominent names, you've mentioned a couple of them that have come out as potential, people who could be part of a coalition of leadership or something like that, get very viciously attacked, by some areas of our community, whether it's, and that doesn't seem helpful.
No, but it should be like that. Yeah, it's normal. I think it's normal. People are different, and they should allow to say whatever it's in their mind. And we are learning from each other, and eventually we'll get there.
What a balanced perspective you have. It's very calming to hear you talk about this.
Even though we are fighting,
you sound less concerned than some others
even though we are fighting, but I think that with learning from each other, we can get there sooner. And we are learning, because now in social media, everybody's talking, and everybody's learning and correcting themselves, which is great. I see the politicians that each year they are changing, and they are somehow fine-tuning their ideologies and fine-tuning their the angles that they want to go, and which is great. We are learning from
that part
other.
Of it's amazing. We talked about this before on the show about how the community inside and outside of Iran, for example, when there was the fake confession too much video that came out, everybody immediately said, "Don't share this," and everybody listened. I mean, it's amazing. You know, that everybody's on the same page of, we know not to share the propaganda of the Islamic Republic, even though it's clickbait.
Man, we are learning a lot these days. Everybody is learning, even young kids. They are growing up like 10 years in 4 months. And even our politicians, we are learning. Unless they are like, I don't know, something wrong with them.
You have kids.
Yes, I have two
little kids.
Yeah.
Do you talk to them about this?
They're too young.
Too young?
Too young, yeah. But hopefully in future, yes, I have to educate them.
Do you put Shir Khorshid little flags on their lapels? When they
No. They have to choose it like freely when they want to do it.
All right.
Yeah. Religions and politics in our house is just the time that they want to choose it.
When you were in D.C. this past weekend, and I saw pictures of you participating in that demonstration, what was the most energizing part of that trip for you?
Everything, man. In that cold weather, everybody was there. And funny story. I thought that I'm gonna go there and just speak Farsi.
Oh, you spoke?
Yeah, I spoke.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you actually spoke.
But it was so embarrassing, man.
Why?
I didn't like my English is terrible.
Perfection. Oh, you spoke in English?
Yeah, and
right. This is why you didn't want to do an interview in English after your performance in D.C. last week.
And it was like freezing, man, freezing. And I went there. I was with Faramars and Marjan. And I prepared something in Farsi in my mind. First I thought, okay, at least I'm gonna have 15 minutes. And exactly
15 minutes on stage at the demonstration?
Yes, no, because there was a stage for the speakers as well. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have 15 minutes, 10 minutes,
That's a long time, yeah.
And right before I'm going on stage, Faramar said, "Babak, only English." I said, "Why?" I said, "There are lots of Ukrainian people here, so many people there were there that they're like non-Iranian." Said, "Just speak English." I said, "Okay." And the Siyamak Aram came, we said, "Only 5 minutes." I said, "Okay." And I was so confused. Okay. And I had to change the subject and say whatever that comes to my mind.
Wow. What was the subject of this 15-minute oratory that you were going to do in Persian?
Yeah. It was like, do you want
to... What was it? Yeah, sure. I mean, tell us.
Yeah, I wanted to explain what is going on in what the young teenagers that they're on the street, what they are feeling, and what is the responsibility of the politicians, that the people that they have lots of followers, that the leaders, what is the responsibility for them? The people in Iran, like the teenagers that they are protesting, they are like birds that their whole life were in the cage.
Yes.
And they have the image of the living in freedom, a little image from the parents, because they took their parents, forced them to be in a cage, and they're born in the cage. They never felt the living in freedom. They have a little ideas from the social media and from whatever that their parents were telling them, but they never lived in the free society.
Yeah.
Right
they
now,
have the internet.
Yes.
So,
they have some ideas.
Yes.
But they never felt.
Correct.
Right now, with any danger and cause, they're just trying to get out of the cage but they don't know how to fly, because they can fly the height of the cage only. And our responsibility as a leaders and everybody that has like the influencers is to educate them how to fly. Because imagine the bird,
beautifully put.
The birds that they are getting out of the cage, they don't know how to feed themselves. They don't know how to fly. They don't know where to find to rest. You know, this is what happening on the streets now. They are experiencing a little freedom here and there, but they don't know what to do. And us as influencers or politicians or leaders, we need to put and invest on educating the kids.
What's a way that we can do that?
There are lots of ways from here. Yeah, there are lots of ways. The first way is to be able to communicate to each other. If we start attacking each other like a little kids, we don't teach the kids anything. But the good thing that I learned from the Reza Pahlavi especially is he's pretty open to talk to everybody. And he's doing it. He has lots of meetings. He had lots of meetings with artists, everybody, and he listens. And we need to listen. And we need to listen to everybody, all the different angles, all the different opinions. That's how we can shape the future of Iran. Otherwise, we're going to keep fighting. And we're not going to just gain anything out of it.
Well, that's pretty good. That was worthy of your 15 minutes in Persian. But so what did you end up saying in English?
Oh, that was... Do you want to hear that too?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Do I? If it's that, I'm sure it's not as bad as you're characterizing it.
Yeah, and you know what? Because I want to just make it short there. And I said, I was a 10 years old kid. I used to go to guitar classes. And I used to wear because that guitar classes were very important for me. And that was the highlight of my life.
Tehran.
And I used to wear my best dresses that I had and like put the perfume and everything.
10 years old would be right around the time of the revolution.
Right? 3 years after.
Okay.
And, first couple of years after the revolution, it was pretty open everywhere. But after that, they just little by little, they just closed. And one time I went to the class. I was so happy. I was just counting the days to just get to my class. And my class was just only 15 minutes. And but I used to go there like 1 hour before to just sit there and listen to the other music and other students that they were like practicing. It was so fun for me. And one day I went there, and I remember they put a sticker that this place is closed against Islam, whatever. And it was like it's like an insult to me, But after that, I never stopped. They wanted me. I was like a ordinary guitar student, but that thing just changed me.
Wow.
To fight more.
Inspired you to actually go.
Yeah. Gave me more energy. Said, okay, I have nobody to learn, but I'm gonna just keep practicing and practice more. And when I was 14, somebody brought me the cassette from like 14, 16, I don't know, from US. It was a Strauss and Farah. I said, wow, if there's an Iranian can achieve that, I can do it too. So I was like more solid and like practicing more. Now see, I'm working with everybody and I have my concerts, and just cut and see what the teenagers are doing in the street. they are fighting, and they are putting lots of energy, and they are putting their life in risk and danger. Imagine I wasn't putting my life and like to danger or like anything. I was just, because of that little thing, activated.
But it's the same form of defiance.
Yes.
Yeah.
But right now, whatever that they've done for 44 years, they activate lots of potential like nuclear bombs in teenagers. And that's why I'm 100% sure we're going to win this war.
Yeah. Hila Sadiqi, who I interviewed in the Middle East a couple weeks ago, we ran the interview last week, you know, she tells this story of this kid that she knows, this young guy she knows who's been in jail, and his name is Ruhollah. And he was, you know, he was born after the revolution, and his father named him Ruhollah because he was such a fan of Khomeini. And this kid is out there demonstrating against, you know, even though that's his name. When Hila asked, well, you know, is it worth being in jail? He said, if for my father to see what I'll do against this regime. So the kids are all right, as they say. Let me ask you a final question. I mean, with all that you've said, what is your mood right now about where things are at with this this uprising? You know, it's not, there was a moment in you know, I guess early November, late October, when the big Berlin rally happened and everybody was singing Bad Oh Yeah, and it felt like there was so much enthusiasm that is dimmed a little bit now we feel like we're in the minutia of an actual, you know, the mechanics of change.
It's change, but it's there, because when they see the light in the end of the tunnel, that's hope. We already saw that light, and that's the direction we're gonna go there. We're not gonna go back to the darkness. The direction is there. We saw the light, and there is no point going back. And that's the thing that is giving me the hope. But in general, if you're asking, I'm not in a good situation, like, because I'm seeing those videos, I'm seeing what is happening to the kids, and the damage is extreme, you know. When they're going, those kids that they are going to the jails, they're not going to be the normal kids after that. No. So that's is bothering me. It's like my heart is, you know, with them. When I feel that, and I'm sensitive. So because of that, and watching the news and watching those horrible videos, of course I'm depressed. But the good thing that is giving me energy is we see that everybody saw the light, the end of the tunnel.
We're going to go out on a little bit of a piece of music that you've just recently released.
Yes.
A song that you
Yes,
you wrote and you arranged. This is with the artist Mahur.
Mahur Bahram.
Mahur, yeah. You want to tell us anything about it?
No.
Okay.
Because all the message that everything
for
that
itself.
But this is one of the songs that I did it like orchestral. There's no guitar in it, and the lyrics is from Katayun, and she's an amazing lyricist from Iran. Hope everybody liked it.
It's always good to see you privately and publicly and here in the studio. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Likewise, brother. Thank you so much.
Babak Amini. Let's listen to a little bit of this piece called Khushahay Gandom, featuring the vocalist Mahur.
ای هم ترانه من که دل سپردی بر باد از روزهای روشن دیگر چه مانده دریا حسی که ماندنی بود چون خوشه های گندم شعر و گل و ترانه زیباترین ترنم رقص دوباره نور پروانه های آزاد گلبوسه شقایق بگو نرفته از یاد.
There you go. Taste of that latest track featuring our Babak Amini there, and Mahur is the voice that you hear there. Babak has left the studio and our next guest has come in. This is Roqe episode 233. My next guest is a trained soprano and a familiar face and voice for the Iranian-Canadian community in Toronto and beyond. Now take a listen to this.
رنگش پریده پشتش خمیده به ته رسیده
باید که امروز پشت هم باشیم یک صدا باشیم چون کوه از هم نپاشیم با رقص گیسوی تو با توی موی تو پشتمون گرم به هم صدا.
There you go. Little taste of a piece called Fardoye Azadi, featuring, you recognize that voice that was just there, Faramaz Aslani. Also on that piece, the full song, you hear Shabnam Tolai, Arash Sobhani, Mehran Aminian, Lisbeth Helgeson, and my next guest, the talented Golrokh Aminian. Golrokh was born and raised in Iran, started her music training by learning the violin. She later graduated to vocal techniques and became a member of the Iran Youth Choir at Tehran's Rudaki Hall. After moving to Canada, Golrokh continued her vocal training at the Royal Conservatory of Music. In 2015, she co-founded a not-for-profit called Cultural Interchange 360, aimed at becoming a cross-cultural bridge for bringing people of different backgrounds together through music and other performing arts. More recently, Golrokh initiated an impressive Persian opera project, which we will get to. Since the uprising began, she's been busy supporting the revolution in demonstrations and social media platforms and on songs like we just heard. And right now, Golrokh Aminian joins me in the Roqe studio. Hello.
Hello, Jian. Great to be here.
Nice to have you here. Thanks for doing this. Tell me about Fardoye Azadi.
Fardoye Azadi was a song that I take pride in participating in. It was the lyrics and the music both were written by Mehran Aminian, and he brought a great group of people, and I was honored to be one of them, to perform. Kamran Aminian did the amazing video, and it was a very special project. For me, it hit the right spot because it talked about a brighter future, which we're all looking forward to.
Yes. You know, it's been a while we've been trying to get you on the show. And most recently, we talked about in the summer having you on in the early fall because you were launching this opera project and this fantastic night that took place in September. You had this wondrous performance that was quite historic. 12 renowned opera pieces that you translated into Persian and wove into a storyline and performed in Persian. Now, what's interesting, though, in sort of a strange collision of timing, however, this piece that you had worked on, this event, this performance for months, happened to coincide with, it was pretty much the week after the killing of Mahsa Amini. And so you were kind of trying to negotiate how to do this show while our community was in shock and it was the beginnings of the revolution, the uprising. Does that all seem like a world away to you now?
It's interesting. I worked about, from the inception of the idea to the time that the show was, it finally went on stage, it was 5 years. That was about 5 years.
Wow.
It took me a long time to translate because I really wanted to get the essence of the operas and bring it into the translations.
These are famous arias from Carmen, or from very, and you took these and translated them meticulously into Persian.
Correct, and it was difficult. It's a difficult task to translate, and this is basically anybody who is try to translate a piece of music into a lyrics other than the original language will attest to it, because you don't want to have a literal translation. You want to bring the context as well, and you don't want to sacrifice the natural intonation of words when you're talking about when you're bringing it into the new language. So it took me a long time, and there was about more than 70 people involved in the project.
Right.
There were about 50 people on stage performing that night, and you're right. It coincided with the I believe the second week of the uprisings, and after not only Mahsa Amini, but there were so many other people who were also killed. I came to a point that I was even contemplating maybe I should cancel the show. But then I felt that instead of canceling, I will dedicate the show to this uprising. I am a Persian woman who has. I'm never able to do a project like that, this Iran, with the current regime. So that is my voice, and by dedicating it to the women who have who've put their lives on the front line. I'm basically showing what it means to be a fighter.
It was an interesting dynamic. First of all, I remember in the days leading up to the performance, I mean, I'm talking about this as history is 4 months ago, but so much has changed in the world for Iranians, especially in the last 4 or 5 months. And yes, it was the second week, I guess, and some of these kids have been killed. Of course, Mahsa Amini, and the protests were beginning, and the demonstrations of solidarity, and everyone felt the punch in the gut in the community. And I remember saying, is this thing still going on? And talking to a couple of people who were involved in your production, who said, well, there's a lot more than, first of all, there's non-Iranians involved, there's staff, there's an orchestra, there's all these people who are expecting to perform that night. And even on the night of the show, which was sold out, we were walking in, and it was quite solemn. The audience was we're kind of going in, going, well, how do we feel about going to a show? And all of that was deconstructed. All of that, any anxiety that we had evaporated at the top of the show, because before you came out in costume, you came out with your daughter.
Correct.
You came out with your daughter and you said, hey guys, real talk here before we actually do this thing that I've worked on for 5 years that you've all paid to be here for. I'm dedicating this, and I think that really helped everything, and it actually kind of weirdly put the show into context, because the show feels like it is about female empowerment, and so then it's almost like you had written it for that moment.
You're absolutely right. We were contemplating them. Even I received messages on social media that people who have purchased a ticket for months, and they were asking, is the show going to be on? And my response was, I am as sensitive. This topic is a very, very personal topic for me, and I'm very sensitive and get very emotional and wound up when I think about Iran in general. I've been away for about 21 years. I've never been disconnected from what's happening in Iran, and my heart beats in Iran for Iran. And yet I felt that I will be able to deliver that strong message that if an Iranian woman is allowed to do what she is inspired to do, they can make a difference. And that was about sending that message and dedicating that show to all the women in Iran who want to make a difference.
By the way, your daughter, who's a teenager, how old is she now? 16, 17?
She's turning 16 soon.
Okay. She's fantastic. She was in the show. And what kind of conversations did you have with her? I presume she's never been to Iran, right? She's grown up.
Oh, she has.
Oh, she's visited.
She
okay.
has.
Okay.
She speaks fluently Farsi. She reads
I know
and
she
writes.
does, but she's a kid of the diaspora, right?
Correct. Yeah, she was born and raised here. She's been in Iran about 3 or 4 times. Last time was about 6 years ago, and was the last time we were able to travel to Iran. Basically, after that, I've decided to use my music to voice my opinion and my to be the voice of my people, and that was a time where that was basically my price to pay. I can't go back to Iran.
But I'm curious
anymore.
what conversation you might have had with her.
With Ariana,
or what her
yes.
position was.
Yes, she is with us, very, very much involved. And I asked her to do the English version of what I was reciting in Farsi. And I feel that when it comes, even for her who's been born and raised here in Canada, she feels the sentiment. I feel her emotions. She gets upset. She gets involved, and it meant so much for her that she's like, yes, I will definitely do that. I will read the English part, and she did a great job delivering what she needed to deliver.
When you, by the way, I don't want to. On another day, in another moment, we'll go deep into the opera, because it's a fantastic piece of work. It's kind of sort of groundbreaking in terms of what you did, and I hope people outside of Toronto and that one performance will get to see it. I hope you'll eventually tour it and do more of it. But to sort of move to the Uprising and your connection, as you say, to Iran and the situation. A moment ago you said, this is really personal for me, which I think that's the way it feels for most Iranians. But tell me what you mean when you say this is really personal.
Well, I want to mainly focus on the events of the past 4 months, because in the 40-year history of this regime, what happened over the past 4 months was unprecedented. It is really unique, and it is what we call a revolution, what we have all been looking for. I felt there has been an amazing roller coaster of emotions that we've all felt. There were times that I felt extremely proud of what we're accomplishing as a nation. Sense of pride towards our youth in Iran, towards the women who have, shown incredible courage to come out. I was one of these women in Iran who was. Who felt the oppression firsthand. We decided to leave Iran, but I know what it feels, because I lived basically the first 28 years of my life in Iran, and I firsthand experienced what it means to live in Iran as a woman, especially as an artist who wants to sing. Singing is in my DNA, so to speak. It's a part of me. It's not separate. And
you fall into the category of someone who literally would not be allowed to do your job in Iran.
Yes, correct. And I wasn't. It was growing up in Iran in that environment basically determined what I studied. Where I am today from a professional perspective. I wasn't able to study vocals in Iran.
Did finance and business?
I did mathematics. I did pure mathematics in Iran, and I came here and I did finance, and I'm in business intelligence. It's a field very, very far from music. So I had to put, let's say, double effort into bringing myself to where I want to be today from a musical perspective.
Does that explain to me, or for people who didn't grow up in Iran, because it's still confusing to me sometimes, these things. You did study you studied violin, then you did study vocal in Iran. So how can a woman, walk me through how you're allowed to study singing, and I guess you're allowed to sing with certain orchestras or under certain conditions, but you can't record your own album or perform in front of men a pop song, or I mean, untangle that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did study with teachers privately, basically in Iran. There was a lady from Italy, Persian lady from Italy, who came back after a very long time of living in Italy, and I studied with her. I joined the choir in Rudaki Hall. We were singing, not as soloists. Even if you were selected as a soloist, you had to sing like two soloists would sing together, which defeats the whole purpose of being a soloist. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That rule also, like I can never figure it out. We don't want women to sing solo, but if there's two of them, with a guy, right? There has to be one man and two women?
It can be two women. Because the point is you can't hear the voice of the woman like a singular voice of a woman, because
we won't be able to control ourselves. Right. Yeah.
It's very provocative.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy. So basically I'd say all of my training really happened in Canada, where I joined the Royal Conservatory and I worked with some wonderful teachers, and the learning still continues.
Did you move with your family here, or
with my husband, Cameron and I?
With Cameron.
Yes,
okay.
It was the two of us.
And tell me about that decision at that time.
There were a lot of people who were telling us, well, you have very good jobs, you are stable. It was the time of Khatami's presidency, where the political scenery of Iran was a bit wider than what was before and what was after, frankly. So it was there was more freedom. It was. And yet we decided that it's not. We do want to. We want to leave, because what we saw as our future wasn't where we wanted to be. There were so many of our friends who decided not to, and interestingly, a lot of them left 10 years, 15 years after, saying that perhaps maybe we did the right decision, made the right decision to leave at that time. It was very difficult to immigrate. I think immigration is one of the most traumatic experiences in life. I think the first one is losing a child. The second one is immigration. It's basically you
displacing yourself.
Everything. You lose your support. You're basically cutting your roots and putting it all in 4 suitcases and coming to somewhere where you know nobody. And I used to make this joke of even your calendar changes. Your Fridays and Thursdays turn to Saturdays and Sundays, and it's everything turns upside down.
Could you have imagined at that time that people would be out in the streets for weeks, for months in Iran, saying death to the dictator?
No. And that's what's very special about the past 4 months. I think this Marg bar Khamenei, death to the dictator, down with the Islamic Republic, is only very specific to the past 4 months, the uprising, the revolution that has started over the past 4 months. That's make it extremely significant.
Yeah, and does it has it caught you by surprise, or was it something that you would have anticipated?
I wasn't anticipating this. I was hoping for it very much. I think like every other Iranian, not every other, I should be very careful with what I say, with a lot of...
Certainly not every other.
Definitely not. With a lot of like-minded people, we were really hoping for something. And I even, I think it was maybe a year ago, where I wrote a song called Hich Nagoftim.
I want to play some of that. Yeah. This is dedicated to the victims of PS 752, right?
Correct. The emotion started building up inside me with that horrible downing of that flight, and it continued with it hit the kind of the peak for me when the water shortage happened in south of Iran, and all the protests, and they started shooting people because they were looking for water. Yeah. They were asking for water. And I tried to, in the lyrics that I wrote, it was one very, very gloomy afternoon for me where like I was really feeling suffocated, and I thought, okay, the pain needs to manifest somehow, and it manifested through Hiç Nagoftim, through the lyrics, and then later on.
Let me play a little bit of this. This is you and Mehran Aminian, yes?
Yes, I asked Mehran to join me as to a man and Persian man and woman.
Hiç Nagoftim. Take a listen to this.
جان بر لب ما آمد و ما هیچ نگفتیم 40 سال بلا آمد و ما هیچ نگفتیم زنهار که ما توبه کنان زار بگیریم
It's the voice of my guest here in the Roqe studio, Golrokh Aminian. That song also features Mehran Aminian. It's called Hiç Nagoftim, that you wrote. You wrote the music and the lyrics, correct?
Yes.
You've said something interesting about that piece, which is you've said that coincided with the time where you definitively made the decision there's no going back to Iran to visit, or I'm this is my line in the sand now. Tell me about that.
I think there was a time, you nailed it. It was right after the flight where I thought to myself, I don't want to be silent. I hated being silent. That's what the oppressor wants.
And that's the trade-off for a lot of people in the diaspora.
Yes.
Do I say, if I,
yes.
I want to keep going back to Iran, so I don't want to say anything?
Yeah. And I didn't want that anymore. I reached a point where, like, that's the price that I pay. People in Iran are paying the price. What is the price that I'm willing to pay? And that was my price. I'm not able to go back. It's a very tough price for me to pay. I bet for anybody who's outside. But I have very strong ties. I had a 96-year-old grandmother who passed about 2 years ago. I wasn't able to go and see her.
Yeah. You're an opera singer. I don't know a lot of opera singers who are Iranian, or a lot about the tradition of opera in Iran. I'm assuming it changed after the 1979 revolution, if there was some great operatic tradition. Can you shed any light on where Iran and opera have intersected over the years?
Absolutely. Life of opera in Iran was extremely short. It was only 11 years after the inception of the Opera Council of Tehran, which was founded by amazing singers like Munir Vakili, like Fakhr Sabah. It was dismantled because of the revolution, and because of the nature of opera, the music, the content, it was banned completely and never came back.
Western music.
Damn
those Western people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Western music wasn't even taught in universities like in Iran. I'm not sure if there are if there's anywhere in Iran today that basically teaches harmony, Western music, basically, or not. But it wasn't for a very long time.
How did you, was that when you came to Canada?
How can somebody tell somebody that you cannot make a music? Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's insane. I say this very much on this program, but so many of the things that the Iranians have kind of accepted, begrudgingly over the years, but things that we know, are, if you were just to tell somebody, we're going to create a society where certain types of music are not allowed to be played. I mean, it's madness. It's madness. Not to mention all the weird rules that, as we alluded to earlier.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a truly repressive society.
And it's ridiculous because as a nation, when we go back to before the revolution, music is a part of, it's not like music was exported somehow to Iran. Music is deeply, deeply rooted in our culture. Right. And we have so many amazing singers and women who sing. And I remember this one interview with the great maestro Mohammad Reza Shajarian, and he's like, who are you to tell me what lyrics am I allowed to sing or what song? Who are you? Who dares to tell Mohammad Reza Shajarian that he's like to scrutinize his music? And that's what they do.
So how does 20 years ago, there's a little less internet access than there would be today. How does a girl growing up in Iran find a passion for opera singing?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that question. What I remember is that when I was a little girl, there was a lot of classical records in my house, along with records from
leftover from before the 79 revolution.
Yes. I think some of them were brought by my parents from when they were in the U.S. and studying, and they brought some back, and they decided not to stay and come back and live in Iran a few years, 3 or 4 years before the revolution. So imagine their disappointment when the revolution happened. Anyhow, the records, I guess, were something that were often played in my home, along with Marzieh, Delkash, Shajarian, like all of these. Like it was an amazing mixture of music, and I was exposed to it. But I remember, for some odd reason, the moment I started singing, I was always in my head voice, which is the operatic voice. I had to actually train myself to use my chest register and my lower register. So it was opposite for me. I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, you're pretty versatile. You're not that doctrinaire as an opera singer, because you sing. I hear you singing in different ways. The earlier song that we played is, you've got kind of a pop vocal happening there, and you've performed with Shahin Najafi. You recorded something with him in the last year. A couple of things you've recorded with him, I think, right?
A couple, yes.
So you're not. It's not Fortress opera, but it's interesting that you found that that passion. In terms of what you are inspired to be doing right now, besides attending demonstrations and speaking out the way you have, musically, you've told me, you were telling me that you're writing a piece about or for Mohammad Hosseini. Explain why he has captured your heart. The late Mohammad Hosseini.
Yeah, I have, the piece is really, the lyrics is dedicated. I'm going to dedicate the piece, the music and the lyrics, everything to Mohammad Hosseini, because he has no parents. He didn't have anybody to even receive his body. And
he was one of the two guys executed.
Who was executed
about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah,
correct. And that just is, even now that I'm saying, there is a very overwhelming emotion that how can this it feels so surreal. It feels that none of this is real. It's a very bad dream. It's very unfortunate and terrible that it's our reality today. And I wanted to. There are so many great artists. There's so many people who are pouring out these emotions through their songs, through their art. I'll be another one. And these are just means of unloading that hatred and that the feeling that you feel when you hear these kinds of things. I have a hard time really putting a word for that feeling, but I'm particularly dedicated. Yes,
heartbreak.
But it's even like outrage and frustration times a million.
Yeah.
And
it's very difficult for me when somebody says, because you'll encounter this, especially with Middle Eastern people, Iranian people, who on occasion somebody will go, "Oh, this is we know this about this regime." They, and you go, man. The day that this becomes so normalized that we go, oh well, this is what we know. They're bad guys. They do this, they killed a kid. They killed this young guy, Mohammed Husseini, who has no parent. For we don't even know what for presumably
for just being
protesting
present.
for disagreeing with the dictatorship. Yeah.
He was there at the 40th day of
Hadith.
It was hadiths, yes. So and that's and several times he said, I was there because I go to my parents' burial place every week. But how?
Yeah. How's your before I let you go? I was asking Babak the same question a few moments ago when he was here. How is your mood right now in terms of this moment, somewhere a few months into this revolution where the roller coaster you described earlier of feeling excitement and elation at times and then just this depressed devastation at other times. How are you feeling about where we're at?
I'm upset. I'm very upset, and I'm upset at the leaders of the opposition.
I see.
And I think that I'm upset because we should know by now that disunity and division are the things that the Islamic Republic want.
Yep.
They're banking on it, and we cannot bring ourselves to be unified. We cannot. We are at our infancy when it comes to democracy. We don't have a history in democracy. This is the time to implement it. We're losing time, and we're losing momentum, and they're diddle-daddling, and they're.
Who are we talking about? The leaders of the opposition. Who are they?
Everybody who has an audience,
okay,
and who can bring the people together, and they're at each other's throat, gnawing at each other's, throats, and they're not. They refuse to come together. They refuse to shake a hand. They refuse to. They refuse to be together to beat the common enemy. To then come to a place where we can choose a democratic.
That seems pretty weird, doesn't it, when you put it that way? How
very
hard is this, you guys? Come on. But I guess to a certain extent they're responding to their own bases, like at least a couple of them I can think of who are kind of thinking, well, a lot of my followers will be mad at me if I hook up with this guy,
And that's okay. And that's okay. We can have our allegiances. I don't think that that's wrong. We can definitely have our allegiances. Somebody may come and say, the prince has my vote. Somebody else might say somebody else has my vote, and that's okay. We have to learn to come, agree that we disagree, but we have a common enemy to wipe out today. While the common enemy is killing our children, you can't be wasting time like that.
So you would like to see a coalition or some form of.
I would like to see, even if they are not coming to each other, I would like to see them stop basically trying to weaken each other's strategies and are
they doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're.
I know their supporters are attacking.
Yeah, the supporters
each other,
are attacking each other. Uh-huh. Even the leaders are not being receptive to one another, and that's frustrating. Why?
Yeah, that's it makes sense that something needs to be figured out because everybody seems to agree that the Islamic Republic wins when we're divided. So
exactly,
let's get it together. Pleasure to have you here in the studio.
Pleasure's all mine.
I hope that you come back in more fortuitous, more excitable occasions as well, and that we can. I really thought your opera project was a tremendous undertaking and such an impressive thing to do, and I really hope you do take that to the next level and tour it and let people see it around the world.
Thank you. I do hope so too.
Thanks for being here.
amazing to be here, Jian. Have a good one.
All right. Golrokh Aminian. And that is full time for Roqe for today. Thank you to Golrokh. Thanks to Babak. Thanks to Pega, Shaya, the whole team. Let me do this properly. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together. Savvy Roham, talented Anahita, Super Parisa, Smart Pega, Ahay Merdad, and Ruby Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. You can find all of our content and any information that you want about us at roqemedia.com. That is our website, the hub of all things Roqe. roqemedia.com, where you can also see the Support Us button, which is a way that you can support us by becoming a patron. We really appreciate it if you do so for a small amount each month to keep Roqe alive. Thanks again for listening. See you Monday. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, Mizun Mashi.